Welcome to another episode of the T4 podcast. With me, Jim Bailey, we've got Nash Danger along for the ride, and we are joined by Hoang Tran, who is a hand therapist from Hand Therapy Secrets, all the way over in the United States. We're absolutely delighted for you to join us today, Hoang. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm all right. How are you, Nash?
We're excited. I'm very well, thank you. The sun is shining today for a change.
It is indeed. Now, we have just had a little bit of a chat live on Bolton FM as part of Feel Great with T4 on Bolton FM. But now we're going to get a little bit more from you, a little bit more in depth, and find out a little bit more about hand therapy and what people can do to keep those hands healthy.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here talking to you guys.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, first off, I suppose we did cover this a little bit on the radio, but for those that haven't heard the show, what does a hand therapist do? What is the crux of it all?
Great. I'd love to explain that. As a hand therapist, I'm an occupational therapist. And after the university, and physical therapists can do this too, after university, we can post-degree specialize in the things that we love and we have passion about. So I decided to become a hand therapist. It was something that I've always wanted to do just because of my experience and what I saw. And to become a certified hand therapist, you have to have a minimum of 3 years. As a physical therapist or an occupational therapist, you have to have a minimum of 4,000 hours in hand and upper extremity types of injuries. And then you pass this national board certification, which then, if you pass, gives you the designation to become a certified hand therapist. And the exam can be challenging. It's really hard to pass. There's like a 50-50 pass-fail rate. So it can be challenging, but I am here to encourage more occupational therapists and physical therapists to, not just specialize, but learn more about the hand, the wrist, and the whole upper extremity and how it all works together to help our patients be more independent, live pain-free, and avoid surgeries.
So if you can tell us more about the function side of things, Wang. Obviously, I specialize more in feet and the knee, and then you specialize in hand. So there's a massive overlap in terms of sensory input and what the hand does and the feet do. So tell us a little bit more about that, especially if you're linking it from a function point of view.
So from a hand perspective, you need your hands to do everything. Like if you think about it, from writing to getting dressed, so everything related to activities of daily living, just being able to brush your teeth, open a can of a bottle of water, to work if you're sitting and you're typing, to playing sports. Like I'm working with someone right now who's a baseball player. I've worked with people who play golf. And so if you think about it, these people have 2 hands and 2 arms. And we are prone to having all types of injuries, whether it be from wear and tear of just over time using our hands constantly, or having a work injury. We do a lot of work injuries here at my clinic. You see people with crush injuries where they smash their fingers and hands. Some people lose part of their hands. And there's just so many different types of hand injuries that I want to help more therapists, both occupational therapists and physical therapists, say. I want to stop them from saying, "Oh, the hands are so complex. Like I don't really do hands." But really, if you think about all the people that come to you, they come to your clinic, Nash. They come to my clinic. They come to other therapy clinic, and they come with a slew of problems. And we have an opportunity to help them to live more actively. You can't lift weights without your hands. You can't change those things out. And you can only compensate for so long. I mean, the simple act of just pushing yourself out of your chair, out of bed. If your hands hurt, your wrist hurts, your elbow hurts, you can't do that. You can't even sleep pain-free, right?
No, absolutely.
If you're crushing on a nerve and the night pain, the tingling, it wakes you up, right? So your hands do everything for you, and it's just a matter of helping the people, the general people, understand that let's not wait until it's completely severe. So I often talk to my patients about pain in a very simplified way, when it's mild, moderate, or severe. So my job now as a business owner is to demonstrate and showcase what that looks like. And I'm always trying to help people come to me when their pain is mild to moderate, right? Like, let's face it, we know if you don't have a problem, you're not going to want to seek out an occupational therapist or hand therapist. But it's in the back of your mind. So let me explain. In your hand, your thumb does 50% of the work of your hand. Without your thumb, you cannot do anything. So just to pick up little things, do your buttons, you need these two fingers, your index finger and your long finger and your thumb, right? Yes, let's celebrate how important.
Balloons for hand therapy.
Let's celebrate. Let's
We're in
celebrate.
Miami, right? We're in Miami.
Yeah, that's right. We always partying, right? There's always balloons. There's always a celebration. But your thumb and your two fingers do all the little what we call fine motor control. They help you do buttons. They help you open a bag of chips. They help you. Apparently, I'm eating chips all the time because that's my thing that I like to refer to. But every little thing requires your thumb and these two fingers. Now, in order to be strong, right, in order to have a really good grip strength, to pick up heavy weights, to even open a heavy door, you need your small finger and your ring finger with your thumb to really give you full, powerful fist.
Wow, that's interesting.
And so we forget that we were created, with 5 fingers, if we're lucky, knock on wood, 4 fingers and a thumb on both sides of our hands, on our body, and we need both of them. You have one hand that I'm a right hand dominant person, so I might write and I might eat with my hand, but my left hand has to help stabilize things. So if I'm opening something, I'm trying to, pick something heavy up, I need both my hands and both my arms. And I believe very strongly that, and I've been a therapist for over 20 years. I know, gentlemen, I look really young, but I'm a little bit older and I've got some experience under my belt. And what happens with people is we tend to, with everything, but we tend to, when our pain is mild to moderate, we tend not to do anything, right? Maybe it'll go away. Because that's happened before. It's hurt and then it goes away. So our brain, our body has trained us to think, oh, it'll just go away. It'll just go away. Well, one day it doesn't go away anymore. It becomes moderate to severe. And becomes moderate to severe, it takes a little bit longer to fix. Other things get complicated by it. So like if you compensate with your hands, at some point your elbow might hurt, your shoulder might hurt, right? And so my job now is to educate everyone, like in general, to, hey, when it's mild to moderate, like think about getting a little bit of help. Think about understanding.
Get out of the curve.
What you can do. Think about the consequences, because sometimes when we wait, we can no longer avoid surgery.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you can catch something early, you're going to have a better chance of sorting it out, surely.
Absolutely.
That's the case with anything in healthcare.
But human nature is to wait until it's severe. Now, here's the thing. As therapists, as an occupational therapist, physical therapist, guess what? We're humans too, right? So we tend to wait. So as therapists, as treating therapists, we tend to wait. We tend to, only see the most severe. So as a certified hand therapist, I see some of the most complex cases in terms of fractures, tendon lacerations, injuries where their hands get crushed. I mean, I worked with a guy who saw injuries. The saw flew up, cut him right here in the axilla. So it didn't break anything, but it cut his nerve. And anywhere where you cut the nerve, below becomes a problem. He couldn't move his shoulder. He couldn't move his elbow, his wrist, or his fingers. This guy was, when I met him, in his late 30s, 2 kids, needed to work, loved to play soccer, right? Or football, as you guys call it. Love to play football. But he needs both his arms, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Balance, and he wants to be a functional human being without pain. And so as a certified hand therapist, we can see some of the most gruesome injuries. And so as therapists, because we see that, we kind of get pigeonholed into like, those are the only people who need help. But there's so many more people who are just everyday people who have pain because they use their hands for everything. Have pain because, they love playing sports. They love going to work out, and, they might just hit something, or, just over time, it's painful.
I think,
that's one of the things actually that I found quite fascinating when I came to your clinic when I was in Miami. I thought, you had extreme kind of patients where they were, broken fingers and
Yep.
kind of severe trauma. And then you had your normal daily activity stuff. I remember
Yeah,
this
what-
lady had operation, and
Yeah.
then, one of your therapists were working on the scar, and then you were doing some of the splinting. So to really now talk to the health professionals who are
Yes.
looking to kind of do your course, do you mind just going into a little bit more deeper
Oh, yeah.
about what's involved in that? What makes you unique and special? Because you're kind of taking this teaching global, and it's your first time coming to the UK to be
Yes.
delivering this course. And obviously there'll be many more times for you coming over. But just really drop the seed for somebody
Yeah.
who's thinking, no, I'm a hand expert anyway. I
Yeah.
don't kind of need that sort of course. Give
Yeah.
us some of the uniqueness of this.
So that's the great thing about this course, that it's really fit for both the occupational therapist and the physical therapist, whether they have limited experience or they have a lot of experience under their belt. I think that there's a lot of benefit to learning more manual therapy techniques. So the course that I've been teaching over the last 2 years, I've been touring, going around the United States. And now, thank you so much for the opportunity to come teach at your clinic, but also to rally a lot of the occupational therapists and physical therapists around the UK that would be interested in learning more about hand, wrist, elbow, and shoulder types of injuries, using a very manual technique to learn, first of all, like how to evaluate a patient with these types of injuries, because we see such a variety of cases. I'm a big believer if you can simplify, because everyone gets scared of hands because it's so hard. So my job is to simplify the anatomy, go over surface anatomy, and then I teach my specific framework that I've developed in terms of decision making around how you can help the variety of your cases. So as an occupational therapist and hand therapist at my clinic, yes, I see a lot of post-surgical cases, but I want this methodology of how to think through your cases and how to apply a manual therapy technique so that you, Nash, can apply it, your staff can learn to apply it for the types of patients that are coming to your clinic. So for example, in your clinic, you might be seeing 40s, 50s, 60 plus, right? And they're coming to your clinic naturally because they want to stay more active, they want to garden, they want to age well, right? Meaning
Yeah,
they
that's
want to
correct.
be as active as long as possible, keep as many of their body parts intact as possible. And so I want to help your staff really think through from a manual perspective how they can help get results for their patients faster, getting them out of pain, helping to help your patients recover, and then helping them to keep their results, right, through a manual therapy technique. And so what do you think about manual therapy? Manual therapy is anything where we're applying some form or fashion of touch. And though there's a lot of techniques out there, I think my approach can make it really simple, whether you're working with someone who's young, someone who's older, someone who's had surgery, because we have to take into account all the structures of our body. And that's my main goal of
That's
teaching
brilliant, though.
other therapists to, simplify it. So when our patients understand what we're doing and what we're saying and how we're explaining it, they are more bought into their own recovery.
Brilliant. Yeah.
We can't get our patients great results
Yeah.
if one, they don't come in, right? They don't come
Yeah.
in, they're not getting better. Two
Yeah.
is that you have to show in almost every session or week on week on week that you're getting results for them. And when you
Yeah.
get results for your patients and they feel good, they will keep coming back to you.
Brilliant.
And that's
Yeah.
how that's how you help people. And
Brilliant.
I'm on a mission to help therapists help themselves so that they can have more people in their neck of the woods, in their city, in their town.
It's all about quality, isn't it? And if you can help people to enhance the quality of the therapy they're giving, then they're going to get better results. And as you say, people will keep coming back because they know that's where people can get quality service and therapy.
Yeah. So this workshop is taking place 15th and 16th of June. That's right, isn't it, Hoang?
That's right, 15 and 16. And Nash asked me to start it a little bit later. So I think we're starting at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah, you Miami lots.
I was going to say a little bit later.
I'm
quite
a very early morning person, but
Nash
has got your back. Listen, if you're an occupational therapist or a physical therapist and you want to come to this class because you want to develop your manual therapy skills, Nash has got your back. He's having you come in later because I'm a morning
Yeah.
person. I would have you there like really early. And he's like, can we do it later? And I said, of course we can do it later.
I love it. So tell us a bit more about what you got planned for those 2 days so that, anybody that's sort of interested, really wanted to come along, give a bit of a taster, sort of the
Yeah.
structure on the day, what sort of content you'll be delivering,
Yeah.
and what sort of practical sessions you got
You
planned.
know, let me ask you something, Nash. Here in the United States, we have occupational therapist assistant and physical therapist assistants. Do you have that equivalent in the UK?
We do. Yeah, we do
Yeah.
have some. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for
So
physios and for OT.
yeah, so they're invited as well. So
Oh, brilliant.
they're invited as well. So when I teach
Mhm.
my class, and I'm, traveling around the United States teaching my class, I've had occupational therapist assistant, physical therapist, and physical therapist assistants who come as well. And
Mhm.
people who have some form or fashion of other certifications, but they really have an interest in learning more about the anatomy. So I
Yeah.
cover throughout those 2 days, I cover anatomy, but not the way you learned it in school. We want to
Oh,
do
I like
and
that.
cover surface anatomy because we want to be able to find all the structures of the hand, wrist, elbow, and shoulder. Because when you find and know where the anatomy is, you can apply it. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of my 2-day course is applied
Mhm.
anatomy. We're not going to learn like at the university, it was attached on this rib. No, we want to know the job of all the structures,
Brilliant.
what happens to it when it gets injured. So when you are working with patients, you
Mhm.
not only need to know where things are located and from the structural standpoint, the anatomy of it, but you need to know the nature of the injury, the nature of the disease, or the nature of the surgery. And that's what some of the things that I cover as well, in
Mhm.
order to then learn the manual techniques to apply.
Brilliant.
So it's not just rubbing on somebody's skin or rubbing on the joint, but I'm going to teach very specific formulas and techniques to help you get great results. So the first day, I cover hand and wrist types of injuries. So
Mhm.
Nash, if you've got people in your clinic who want to be volunteers with a hand injury, I want to
Mhm.
invite one or two of them to come in so our
Brilliant.
students can practice on them. I
Yeah,
teach a
sure.
technique on how to mobilize and how to move a thumb because I believe the thumb is a really important function of the hand.
Yeah.
And I think you probably have so many patients that come for their feet that
Yeah.
probably have thumb hand pain and they don't even know that you do hands.
Yeah, and
You do.
part of that, well, this is why I'm getting you to do this, is it's not something we actually look out for. And I think that's why I love this course and what you're doing. It's actually educating the therapist, including myself as a business
Yes.
owner as well, to actually say, look, this is something that we can help. It's a problem that we can solve and add value to that person's life. Because like you
Right.
said, a lot of people compensate. They can't really compensate with feet, but with hand, it's almost like they'll just use the other one and get away with it. But I think if we do start educating and we do start putting stuff out there, and if my therapists are aware and if I'm aware, then it's something that definitely we can actually pass on and educate. And I think that's why this workshop is brilliant, because workshop is one of the best ways of actually getting people in to educate. Because until
Yes.
people know better, then they'll do better. So I
Yeah.
think that's why this approach is fantastic. And the fact that you're gonna have it CPD sort of registered. I know it's in America it's slightly different. So you're
Yeah.
looking at sort of the conversion rate
Well,
for it
no,
here.
we just call it CEUs, continuing education units, but you call it CPD,
CPD.
continuing
Yeah.
professional development. But it's
Yeah.
essentially the same thing in terms of if you are being educated or you're there to learn for a certain number of hours, you get a certain number of quote unquote units, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to have 15 CPD units,
Mhm.
right, for
Brilliant.
your therapist so that they could use that to not only use to renew your licenses and show that
Yeah.
you're doing professional development work because we're
Correct.
always working to improve. But you can
Yeah.
also now, like, if you're trying to work more in hand therapy, you can put it on
Uh-huh.
your resume. I encourage my students to put it on their resume to say, hey, now I have this skill level that I
Uh-huh.
can help and treat X type of patients. So
Uh-huh.
and then if you work in a private clinic. So we know a lot of therapy clinics that have therapists who have their own therapy clinic, they could send their team. And so you're right, their team can start to look at the current patients and say, hey, oh, your thumb hurts? You don't have to go somewhere. I actually can help you with that. Right?
That's awesome.
I can help you with that. I'm knowledgeable. I have the skills to know how to evaluate, like, what it could be, why that thumb hurts so much. And then from a manual perspective, know how to treat people.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really awesome. Matt. And I
Yeah,
think,
I'm looking forward to it. Now, obviously, I'm not a therapist. I'm a marketing guy.
If you have an injury, you can come. So I think the first day is hands and wrists.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to go over hand and I'm going to go over wrist. And the whole point of this manual therapy workshop, where I believe so strongly that you're coming in to work on it instead of just doing stuff online, is because the hands-on practice is going to be really key to knowing how to deliver the therapy and how to get results for your patients. And then day number 2 is we're going to focus on elbows and shoulders. And so the knowledge that you're learning gets stacked over those 2 days, so you can treat the whole hand and upper extremity.
Well, that's fantastic. I love the use of hands-on as well, can I say, while we're talking about hand therapy. But yeah, but obviously, like I'm kind of the marketing guy at T4, so I'll be about bobbing around, just getting some pictures, getting some documentation of what we've done, so we can show the world. But I think that I'm genuinely going to be enthralled and fascinated with all this knowledge that's going about, even though I'm not a therapist, I won't use it as such, but I'm sure there's little bits and little tips and little handy hints that I'll be able to take into everyday life when it comes to the hands. And that's kind of what I was going to ask you next is, are there things that people can be doing, just everyday people who might be listening, just to take care of the hands and just to keep them in good condition, any good practice of how to look after your hands, because they are massively important.
Yeah, especially if you're doing an online consultation, because what might happen with this is you might have some patients who do have some sort of severe trauma and they can't fly out to Miami.
Yeah, we do.
They want to get online, and they want to get online consultations. So tell us a bit about that, how that works, and what some of the things, as Jim is saying, that you can get them to do and facilitate. Obviously, it's always best to have a face-to-face appointment, but we live in a digital world now with digital healthcare.
We do. We do get we do consultations for people just coming in and asking for that advice, getting that secondary opinion, if you would, on what's going on and how we can, can they avoid surgery? And so much about that is that we can look through the camera and ask our patients to do certain movements, so we can spot the imbalances, spot where they're limited, and then based off of that, give them some very key movements to help them. And that's how we do our online consultations, depending on if it's a hand, we can show you. So for example, like Jim, I think one of the things that you were saying is like, what can I do to show someone like you, let's say, to save your hands, right? So
just a little bit of prevention, a little bit of just taking care of the hands in day-to-day life, so that problems will be less likely to develop.
Yeah, so one of the things that happens to our thumbs, because we use it all the time, is our thumbs tend to fall down into our palm, because our thumbs allow us to cup like this, right? We cup water, we can wash our hands when we write, when we eat, so our thumbs have a natural tendency to fall into our hand. One of the best things that we can do to save our thumbs is to really just to pull it back. So if I was just teaching you, I would teach you to do like a scoop and lift, just to stretch it back. So your thumb would be on the back side. So you have to find this bone right here.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Find this first bone, and you're gonna slide your finger all the way down, and then just hook your thumb right there, just in a nice, relaxed way. And then with your fingers, if you have long fingers, you would roll them up like this. If you have short fingers like me, you can just leave it like this. But you would just scoop and pull back. Yep, just a little bit. Doesn't have to be a lot. And then where you want to scoop and pull back, you don't want to pull back from here. You want to pull back from down here. So when you pull back, you scoop and pull back, it
feels different.
And your ring finger do more of the work, right? There you go. Just from this base. So this is the base where most people have thumb issues. Their thumb hurts. And what they do is what you are doing, which is pull back from this big knuckle. And you don't want to do that, because when you pull back from here, you jam this bone even further, right?
So it's more from like, for those watching this on the video rather than the audio, it's like around here, and then you kind of pulling back there.
You scoop and pull back, right? So I always teach my therapists, you have to stabilize one area and move the other. Look at you here getting free therapy.
I know, yeah. See, I tell you, the bonuses of this job, Nash.
Yeah, so things like that. So not only do I teach our patients, what to do, but what my job in Hand Therapy Secrets, as a occupational therapy mentor and educator, is just to help therapists feel more comfortable and more confident with what they're doing with their hands. But really, so fundamental, so important is how they're problem solving through and educating their patients. We live in a world where there's so much information, but it's very vague in nature. You know what I'm saying, Nash? Everyone's now got AI. Everyone's like looking things up. And I believe very strongly that as a therapist, we have to share our perspective with our patients in terms of what is really going to help them.
Because if you don't know what you're looking for, it's like a needle in a haystack, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's so much information out there. You don't know necessarily what's the correct information for you and what's not the correct information for you.
Listen,
and that's where
if you look all the information out there is either have an injection or have surgery, right? If something hurts, have an injection, have surgery, or wear a brace, put a cream on it. But when those things don't work, or that's not what you want, right? There are so many people in the world living in pain with no option for surgery, because there are some injuries that there is no option for surgery. So what you're telling them is they should live in pain because there's nothing to do. But I believe strongly that there is something to do. And if we have more occupational therapists and more physical therapists who are interested in continuing to develop their skills and say, hey, I am interested in learning more about the hand and upper extremity, we can help more people who have hand pain, who have hand problems, that there is a solution and we can get them better.
You know what was interesting, Wang, is when you're actually demonstrating that kind of technique. I was doing it with my hands, and I just had a thought to actually go, when was the last time I had my hands treated? Now, I use them less nowadays because I'm more kind of, working on the business. But for my physios and for treating therapists, whether OT or physio assistant, we use our hands to deliver treatment, but actually we don't really take care and actually give treatment to our hands and reduce some of the tension. And what's interesting is, especially for physio, I'm not too sure what the stats are. A lot of physios retire early due to arthritis in their hands, because obviously they're using their hands. And I know there's different techniques and tools you can use nowadays, but I think it's so important for us as therapists, even as business owners, to understand that we have to take care of our team and look after our hands, because we're spending most of the time delivering treatment using the hands.
You see Mike after a heavy day over at T4, our massage therapist, and his hands are like claws almost, because he's just been massaging folk all day, using his hands, using his fingers.
So I'm so glad that you brought that up, Nash, because that's a huge aspect of people when they start following me. So if you're a therapist and you want to follow me, my name is Hoang Tran. You can find me at Hand Therapy Secrets all across social media. I put out videos every week on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm even on TikTok. But one of the biggest aspects of therapists wanting to come to my class, and what really sets me apart, I believe, is that in all of the things that I teach, from the anatomy to the techniques, one of the most important things that I believe and teach, and it's threaded throughout the 2 days, is on body mechanics. How can you treat in a way that's going to be easier on your own hands? It is so common for physical therapists, for occupational therapists who are working on those stiff joints, who are, and especially the PTs, like so many big joints, right? And the OTs, they have thumb pain because they're working on such a small joints that require a lot of muscle. And that what happens is we forget to take care of our own bodies. And so the class is great to come in twofold because you learn a lot of body mechanics. I show you all different ways in different positions to put people in and how to put yourself into different positions so that the technique and the manual therapy that you apply is easier on your own body. But two, when you come and if you're in pain, you're going to get some treatment as part of your therapy, right? As part of your learning, you're going to be like, pull and tuck on my thumb, help me with my shoulder. Every therapist at some point has thumb pain, wrist pain, elbow pain, or shoulder pain. I guarantee you at some point in your therapy career, you've got something. And this can help you.
I 100% believe that, Nash.
So yeah, no, me too. So one of the things we use, one obviously, is a force plate because we're feet specialists. Is there anything tool-wise that people can use? And I suppose you could use a force plate where you can get somebody to put their hand and put pressure on to see how much force is going through the hands. But is there anything kind of more technology-wise, or are you more old school, more hands-on approach? Tell us about that sort of thing.
I think that when you learn the techniques that I'm teaching, you can use any technology because you use the technology to supplement what you have found. And what you have found is through your evaluation process.
Brilliant.
Right?
Love that.
So it's through your evaluation process that you can say, oh, your grip strength this week. So we use a dynamometer to measure how strong somebody's hand grip is. We use a piezometer to measure how strong someone's pinch is. And all that does is it gives you a measurement of where you started and how much better you are. But we can also use from a functional standpoint, like I couldn't put weight on my wrist to get up. So now I can put weight on my wrist. So one of the things I teach is you can just test against any functional activity. I was working with someone who has thumb pain and he writes a lot. And he was starting to have a lot of thumb pain, a lot of hand pain. So I can be fancy and check on all sorts of stuff. But really at the end of the day, he came to me with hand pain because of his writing. So then I just wanted to see how he was writing. So we can look at handwriting position. We can look at how he's holding it. We can modify it to a certain extent. And then we can teach how you can make it better. So it's really, if you think about it, very similar to, let's take an athlete, a baseball player, a basketball player, a tennis player, anyone who's, needing to use their hand and arm, and they're coming in, they're usually saying they have pain with something. I have pain when I hit backhand. I have pain when I golf swing. I have, things like that. And then you're just breaking down. But in order to break down and know what technology to use, you still have to know applied anatomy, the nature of the injury, the nature of whether they had surgery or if they have a disease process, right?
Yeah.
Have to know how to fix them. And I like to use a manual technique because from a manual technique, then you can apply. If you like instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization, you can apply that. If you like to use cupping, you can use that. If you like to do kinesio taping, that you can do that. But from a manual perspective, knowing how to pull and, knowing, do I need to distract a joint and do I need to compress a joint, right?
Brilliant.
Do I need to shorten a muscle? Do I need to lengthen a muscle? All of that, in order to apply any of the new technology. I mean, I have a shockwave machine in my clinic, and we're doing shockwave therapy. It's amazing. But if you're not applying that machine to the right tissues in the right intensities at the right location, you're not going to get the results.
Yeah, it's almost like you can't use technology to substitute the knowledge and the clinical reasoning.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love that. And I think
you cannot substitute clinical reasoning.
Yeah, brilliant.
You cannot substitute all the technology in the world to understand anatomy and understand the forces that are applied to it, understand the structures and understand its usage, its importance. And that's why I want to dispel the myth of like, oh, hands are so complicated. There's certain aspects of complications, but we can make them easier so we can understand, and then so our patients can understand.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I want to get started now,
I know,
Jim.
yeah,
I don't
it's
know about you.
like you said, Dan, Nash, you can't replace that knowledge because, you could give me, a shockwave, a C-reel, you give me all
Yeah.
the most technically advanced physio things in the world. I ain't a physio and I don't know what I'm doing. So it's
Yeah.
irrelevant what I do with them. You have to have that
Yeah.
base knowledge. And
You
the
don't
more
need to,
knowledge you have, the
as
better.
a patient, you don't need to know what you're doing. You need to know, does this feel good? And
Yeah. But I
go
need to know that you know what you're doing.
People go to places where they feel good.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
when you can make your patients who have pain feel good, they can they'll keep coming back to you. And here's the important thing that people are like, oh well, I don't really do a tons of hands. At some point in your career, you're going to be working on a knee, and that knee person's going to have elbow pain. And listen, the knee and the elbow, they're like cousins, right? And I would encourage every physical therapist that does mostly hips, knees, and feet to come to this hand and upper extremity class. You're going to learn some techniques. You're going to learn some manual therapy techniques that you're going to be able to apply on any part of the body. I promise, Nash. You're going to be in that class, Nash. I'm going to put you on camera and you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm doing this something to my big toe, right? Because we cousins. And
that's what I love about physio and OT and what we do, because there's a lot of overlap there, and I think that's what I saw when I came to your clinic.
There
I
is
said,
a
hey,
ton of overlap.
I gotta get you down because you're truly an expert, and I was sold, and it's fantastic this, and I really, really can't wait. So just to wrap this up, then Wong, give us one good reason. I think you've mentioned several there for anybody sitting on the fence who's actually going, oh, you know what? It's a Saturday and Sunday. I've got the kids. I need to find a babysitter. Why should I really change my plans to come in and see you, so that you can add value to their life?
The reason why you should come to a manual therapy workshop in the UK with me is when you leave, you're going to have learned and feel so much more comfortable and confident to deliver effective therapy treatments to your patients with anything related to the hand and upper extremity. You're going to feel comfortable and you can feel confident with how you're using your hands and how you're using your own body to deliver the therapy and get results. And I think that's the most powerful thing that I could say. If you're sitting on the fence and you're thinking about coming or not coming, think about coming, because all of my students, when they leave, one of the most important things that they say is, getting that immediate feedback in a small setting, in an intimate course where you can get that immediate feedback to know what I did or what I didn't do. I don't know how that, but it's exciting, right?
That's the reason, isn't it?
I couldn't have timed that.
I can create fireworks.
I tell you, if you're listening to this on the audio feed, get the video feed just to see these amazing effects that Hoang's got going on.
I don't know how
perfectly.
I don't know.
You gotta do that with your hands, and
I
then
talk with my hands a lot, so I don't know it just creates all these
There's a reason.
See,
there you go.
Do it for us. Not doing it for us.
There's the reason. So yeah, no, you definitely come along.
No, it sounds fantastic.
In your life, you should come.
No, it sounds amazing. I think that even for me as not a therapist, it sounds really exciting and interesting to me. So if you are a therapist out there, whether it be occupational therapist, whether it be a physiotherapist, I think it's well worth just adding to your skill set and just putting yourself in a place where you can deal with more problems more confidently. Definitely,
because I know, Jim, you're going to be recording it. It's going to be an online version. But as Wong said, you can't miss that opportunity to learn in a practical way. Because at the end of the day, when we are sitting down with our patients, it's not via a screen. It is face-to-face. So I think that is the most important thing, to realize that those skills that you learn on the day, they're practical, because the job that we're in is a practical job. And that's the best way to increase that clinical mileage. And you're going to have your points as well for CPD. So it's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Can't
Brilliant.
wait to see you there.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm excited to show you around as well when you come. You're going to come to Cambridge and see my folks and see Cambridge. You're going to go to Bath. You're going to come to Manchester. Obviously, you're going to come to the clinic. So I'm super excited to host. And obviously, there'll be more of these to come. This is just the first.
Yeah,
but there'll be plenty more to come. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, exciting times.
Perfect. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Neither can
Brilliant.
we.
What are you looking forward to? Just to finish off, what are you looking forward to do or try when you come here? So some fish and chips.
I do
Typical
want
British
some fish
thing.
and chips. I want some fish and chips, and I hear
Proper.
that the Indian food in the UK
Oh,
is
yes.
like amazing. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, especially up north.
and I want a proper English dish.
Brilliant.
Like I want a
Brilliant.
proper English dish, whether it be
That will be a Sunday roast, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say fish and chips. Get yourself a curry. Get a Sunday roast. Banging.
yeah, Sunday roast.
Proper.
Okay.
And in a pub, in a proper English pub. Yes, we'll do that. Tea and crumpets. We'll do that in Cambridge.
And then come up to Bolton and get a proper northern cup of tea, proper northern brew.
And you get some chips with gravy.
That's
anyway,
the one.
Enough of that. Right one. Thanks for coming on. And like I said, we would love to see you live here. We're excited and we'll love doing more of this podcasting going forward, because I think even at the end of the course, once you've delivered it, it'll be good just from an educational point of view. Maybe we can start something for the therapist, who knows? But I think this is a massive, massive opportunity. And I think you're so knowledgeable and I'm super, super excited. I'm sure other people that will come and meet you as well, they'll love your energy, they'll love your expertise, and they can become a hand therapist through your course. So
can't wait.
What you're doing is, global, and it's fantastic. So keep up the good work, and we'll look forward to seeing you here in person.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day.